Welcome to Get Tied On, racing fans. I'm Tom Amello. He's Michael Kipnis, the Wizard. We're here to review the Preakness, talk a little bit about Michael's experience this weekend at the sales, and then that difficult conversation about the CAWs, those crows that keep picking at the pools. Michael, good afternoon. It's good to see you. I know you're tired from the handicapping, the betting. You didn't buy them by the pound. You bought them by the bushel this weekend. And, we had some good fortune and some less good fortune. Anyhow, let's talk about this Preakness Stakes. I'm going to say once the Derby was in the books and we took a look at this field and the new shooters, what we thought about the pace that we knew from the Derby, this Preakness looked like that pace would be the same, and nothing could be farther from the truth. So your thoughts to start on the Preakness autopsy.
Well, I thought this year's Preakness was more like a grade 3 stake than an actual grade 1 Preakness we've seen in many years past. It was at Laurel for the first time. The whole card was played in front of about 4,500 people. So it was a different environment, just a different feeling being there. So because the Preakness falls 2 weeks after the Derby and the purses are so bad for the stakes races, for the undercard stakes races, the entire card did not feature the same kind of horses we saw on Oaks and Derby Day. We saw a lot of Maryland-based horses. We saw a lot of horses off the layoff that primarily run on the Mid-Atlantic circuit. The Preakness itself, it was a very slow run race after the first quarter. I don't know what buyer number it received. Do you?
I do, yes, 96. So
I would have.
Go ahead.
I would have thought that it was going to go a lot slower than that. So I thought it was just a slow run race. After 6 furlongs home, it was almost like horses were treading in quicksand.
Remember, they advertised that the run-up was going to be 60 feet. Now the chart just says it was 50 feet, but that's a good run-up. And with Taj Mahal being inside and absolutely having to go, he went 22.66. Then they went 24, and the third quarter was 25.42. That's where the race was over for the rear horses.
Yeah, I mean, the race played out in 2 different ways, 2 different scenarios, but it was kind of the scenario I was looking at, where because Taj Mahal was breaking from the rail and Napoleon Solo was breaking from post 10, I felt the only way that Taj Mahal and his rider would have to do is be aggressive right out of the gate and not give up the rail position, at which put Napoleon Solo in a stalking position. And I didn't think under that scenario that Napoleon Solo could chase, wear down Taj Mahal, and hold the closers at bay. I miscalculated that. In retrospect, he set the pace, a fast pace in the wood, and he was the pace survivor, even though he finished, I think, 5th. He was fresh. He hadn't run in the Derby. And more importantly, Paco Lopez aboard Napoleon Solo just proved to the world how elite a rider he is. He's in the same conversation of the Angel Cordero, the same conversation as Pratt, all the great riders. If you watch what he did and how he rode Napoleon Solo, it was nothing short of brilliant. He appears when he's riding the horse that he has no control of the horse. The way his legs sit, the way he's holding the reins. But contrary to what it appears, he has complete control of the horse. And he dictates how the others are going to have to catch him. That's what Cordero did. Cordero's expertise was not only to ride his horse, but ride 5 others in the race.
Yeah. Well, usually he was leaning on them, not setting the pace on.
Well, Paco Lopez, Napoleon Solo, took the lead, turning for home. He probably looked back 5 times, 3 to his inside, 2 to his outside. He saw the only one closing was Iron Honor, and he probably saw, as crafty a rider as he is he probably looked and saw that Iron Honor wasn't changing leads. And because he wasn't changing leads, he wasn't going to run down Napoleon Solo.
No.
Hats off to Chad Summers, the trainer, who won 2 races for the owner of the Al Gold, who wanted to use a lot of obscenities. He refrained from his usual speech that he likes to do, and he did not, in excitement, of course. But good for Chad Summers, great for Paco Lopez, and my hat's off to the handicappers that picked Napoleon Solo, because I didn't. I picked Incredibolt. I picked the 2 horses out of the Kentucky Derby. They ran their races. They just couldn't make up any ground. They just were not good enough.
Michael, what about, there was no doubt that Napoleon Solo was going to be forwardly placed, and little doubt that Taj Mahal was going to be forwardly placed. But there were 3 or 4 other horses at various post positions who had shown speed and shown that they wanted to be forwardly placed. I mean, they ran awful and never really forced the issue. And saving themselves didn't get them a piece of the action either.
They never showed that tactical speed. They never attacked.
Yep.
It was as if the front run. Now, I was talking to Whit Beckman after the race, the trainer of Oselli and our guest last week, and he pointed out that Gaffleone, who he rode a winner for Beckman earlier in the car, right, in a sprint. And Gaffleone said the track is a little deep. Now, what Beckman said, which was extremely astute, he said that prior to the Preakness, there were 4 straight turf races.
There you go.
And he said that they didn't water the track very much. And because of that, and the sun baking down on the track, and I agree with him, it became like quicksand, that if you weren't on or near the lead at that race 13, which is probably 3 hours after the last dirt race, right? The track was going to change.
Wiz, we talk about it all the time at Saratoga. We talk about it as a speed angle. Up here all summer long, they water the track, and if there are turf races, two perhaps 3 turf races at Saratoga, they water the track 3.5 times before the next dirt race.
Yeah.
And what Witt noticed is that they did the opposite. They didn't
Yeah.
water the track. That's interesting.
I really didn't think about that. Like, because I really think there were 4 turf races prior to that. There were at least 3. I'm sure I think there was 4. That's a long time. That's an hour and a half,
Yeah.
before the 12th race and the 13th race, because of NBC coverage. It's a good, 90 minutes?
Yeah.
So add all that time, and a different track appeared. I think that was the reason for the played a big part in the outcome. Yes, if you pick Napoleon Solo, congratulations, and you look great in picking that horse.
Yeah.
But he showed up. Listen, there's no, you have to show up. Summers did a great job getting this horse razor sharp for the race, but the outcome wasn't what I thought it would be.
Yeah. The way, the race just didn't play. You have to envision scenarios. Certainly the scenario that Napoleon Solo would vie for the lead rather than just essentially wire the rest of the field. That's what he did. It became clear that Taj Mahal wasn't going to last the distance, and Napoleon Solo just wired him.
Yeah, and the top 2 finishers of the Derby were smart to pass this race, especially the winner. Obviously you want to see a Triple Crown, but what chance did they have over this track? None. So it was better served that they bypassed the Preakness. Of course, the second place finisher was going to. But Sherry DeVoe, and the connections did the right thing. That horse will have a better chance in the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga.
Michael, we learned after the fact that the Japanese horse injured himself, and we don't know. We can assume it was in the stretch run because he made the lead and then, almost stopped, right? And so had he not injured himself, who knows what the outcome would have been, and might have changed everything for the Preakness as well.
Right. Well, it's in the books. We're on
Yep.
3 weeks later to the Belmont being run for the last time at Saratoga at 1.25 miles.
Now, racing fans, a little later on in the program, we're going to talk about the computer-assisted wagerers showing themselves once again on this Preakness Triple Crown card. But before we do that, Michael, you had told me, and you did it. You got yourself on a train on Sunday and headed to Maryland for the sales with intent to find a horse for Saratoga. Let's talk about that for the fans, because that's a mystery, if you will, for most racing fans. You got to have stock, and owners and trainers get them at the sales, and we just see them after they've walked around, vetted them, poked, if you will, and checked them out. So let's talk about that experience.
Well, the Timonium sale, it's in Timonium, Maryland, and it's a sale that me and my team have done and researched for many years. It used to be a sale that you can get a really good horse for $20,000.
No.
Bob Baffert changed that when he came in 15 years ago or so and paid like $500,000 for a horse. And now it is a premier, you have the OBS April sale, the OBS March sale, where horses train over and work in front of people over a synthetic surface. This sale is run over dirt. They, after last year, when it rained a lot, and so they decided to change the format, and they called it, well, we're not going to drill horses hard. We're going to so-called gallop them this year. That was far from the truth. These horses worked. They may have not been sticked, but they were shown the whip and asked to run pretty fast. They may not have run sub 10s like 9 and change like Ocala, but they ran pretty quick. Now, I went down there, I have a system and a process. And there were 600 plus horses, maybe 615 with the supplemental entries the last couple weeks. And we go through every pedigree first to determine what combinations of sire and dams we like. And that list came down to 58. From the 58, we watch all the workouts. We dissect them. We slow them down. We watch stride. We watch the photos of the horse. We look at the photo and the walking video. And from that, we narrowed it down to 8. From that 8, we did further research. We determined that we finally got the list. So when we got it to 8, there was a horse that we detected skin disease. We saw like I don't know what they like, as if you had acne on its legs. We vetted the horse out, and it was determined the horse had a weak immune system. That horse was out. We had another horse that we liked that had a hock surgery as a weanling, had recovered, but we didn't want that. So in the end, when all said and done, I had vetted out 4 horses out of like the 7 that were left. And of those 4 horses, only 2 made the cut. And that was an epicenter, hip number 196. Everything checked out. The last piece of the puzzle was actually going down there with my friend Horace Armstrong, who is a trainer for many years and somebody that I respect. And of course, my trainer in New York, David Duggan. And we had the horse come out of the stall. You could be asked to have the horse walk back and forth and inspect the horse. And up close, we saw what was called curbs. And what that is, it's on the left hind leg is like a bump. And it's a bump that occurred on this horse as a weanling. Now, it was originally purchased for $190,000 as a weanling, and it was bought as a yearling for $280,000. So now it's in the 2-year-old sale. And this is the one I'm targeting. I couldn't find a partner. So I decided to set a limit on what I was willing to spend. So, these sales, people spend silly money, monopoly money for these horses. You have some of the Saudi Arabians, you have groups, syndicates. So much money is spent. There was a New York bred today by Flightline that was sold for $2.1 million, a New York bred. Now, the key to this system that I have, we have, my team, is once you get all the details and all the information that you need to decide on which horse you're going to get, you have to set a price you're willing to spend. I was willing to spend, because I love this horse, before the up-close inspection, $350,000. My money, what I was going to pay. I was all in for 350 by myself. But when we inspected the horse, we saw those curbs. We watched him walk from the rear, and the legs were very close together in the rear, as if they were almost going to hit each other. We knew this was a turf distance horse. We knew that the pounding on the dirt may have affected this horse. So we knew that if you wanted this horse, you would have to put it away for a few months and let it grow. I wasn't willing to take a chance at that price because of the question marks. Even a subtle question, even if it did not even matter. This horse may win the Breeders' Cup Turf. Who knows? But there was an issue that bothered us. I passed. And the horse went for $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We had another horse, the last one, 601. It was a Corniche. From the videos, the walking video, and the pictures looked really good. That one sold for $40,000 at the Keeneland sale last year. I was willing to go to 75 for this horse. We went to the stall, had it come out, and within 10 seconds, we nixed it. It towed out. The conformation wasn't very good. We didn't like the hip. Easy throw out. So I said goodbye, went on a train this morning, and came back home empty-handed. But the moral of the story is money saved is money won. So even though it cost me a couple $1,000s on vetting some horses out, it could have cost me $350,000 plus if I had bought the Epicenter and I sat on this horse, paid the expenses, and it turned out that what we saw may have, in the end, compromised his chances of being the type of horse that we thought he could be, and he might be. It's a very hard. We go to the sales every year. I got outbid by Bill Parcells from Maple Leaf Mel, who unfortunately broke down in the test. I got outbid by $2,000 because I didn't have the money for Concrete Rose, who ended up winning the Breeders' Cup. You remember that?
I remember that.
That's still sickening. We bid for a Jersey bred last year by Uncle Lino, a sire that stands for $1,500. The most expensive Jersey bred in the history of auctions was $80,000. I was willing to go to 100 or 110. You know who I battled with for this Uncle Lino Jersey bred and lost to? The Saudi Arabians, who had set up shop with a van outside, right outside where you get crab cakes and you sit around by the bar. They sat like a motor, like the van we had at Saratoga. Remember that?
Yeah,
and
that's right.
So that horse, if I went to 150, they'd go to 200. If I went to 200, they'd go to 300. It doesn't matter. That horse went to Saudi Arabia and ran in the UAE Derby. That horse has already earned about $400,000. If it was in the Wizard stable and it was running here in the U.S., I think we would have done pretty well with that horse.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it goes.
Well, it's it's not an experience for the unexperienced and unprepared, regardless how deep your pockets are, right?
Most people overpay.
Bruno always says that.
Well, most people overpay. Yeah. Bruno doesn't have to say it. We know it. It's pretty standard. We don't have the money that these owners have, and if they hire an agent and they have deep pockets, and the agent says, you got to have this horse, they will pay and you have no chance.
Yeah, okay.
Like Hip 130.96, that I had no chance. If that horse was great and I loved it, and I'm going to go for 350, Tom, that's like, I'm all in on that one.
Yeah, that's a big number.
I had no shot. It went for 500. I'd be knocked out right away.
No. Well, but that's real. That's the real. Look, Michael, we all have a choice. We can go buy them for what we think is a good price. Sometimes people will buy them, as you point out, at the wrong price. And then there's those of us who just want to own them for a minute 10 or a minute 9, or 2 minutes. And
on the bet. Sometimes I think that's the best way to go.
Well,
but I'm an idiot, so what can I tell you?
Well, no, it's a fascinating side. I mean, it's an important side of the game, and it's fascinating and interesting. And there are some people who are very, very good at bargains, because it's not that hard to pay a big number for a flight line, is it? I mean, if it's a flight line, it's going to be a big number. And if you got deep pockets and you want
what did Ocelli cost? 15,000?
No, that's right. 15,000.
Napoleon Solo, 40,000. Right. I'd rather be lucky than smart.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the price tag is. Horses don't know what they cost.
Yeah. No, they don't. All right. Talking about all this money is a perfect segue to the conversation about the computer-assisted wagerers. Let's just talk a little bit about its impact, the impact of the CAWs on the Preakness, the late money that came in on Napoleon Solo. The only horse to take money in that race throughout the betting, and they knocked him down a solid 3 points, 10-1, 9-1, 10-1, down to 7-1. That takes a bunch of money. I think it was reported at 30% of what was bet in the final minutes or seconds or whatever it is. So, Michael, you wanted to address the cause briefly and offer a potential solution. Go.
Well, I mean, throughout the day, I know the odds on these horses in every race, they're going to change one way or the other. I'm used to it. I'm numb to it. It probably happened every race. I don't know. But I do know there was one race in particular.
Right.
And I did not have a good day, as you know, because we bet together.
That's right.
So, but my strongest play was in race 14. It was my pick of the day, probably the strongest play I've seen all year. The morning line odds maker made the horse 3-1, which is, they should find another morning line odds maker, because the odds that were put on this day were awful. I made the horse 6-5 even money. That's the morning line I would have put on that horse. 3-1, I knew he wouldn't be. I gave out no win bet, knowing he was going to be 6-5 or even money. Attack the exactas, attack the trifectas, as you saw when I sent you the bets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Now, it was a Kelly Breen horse ridden by Paco Lopez. And I'm sitting with my wife. The day is done. I can't get out. We're sitting watching the horses load into the gate for race 14. And I turned to her. She's the first race, she's sitting on the couch with me. We watched the Preakness together in the living room. We were in my office. And I said, look at this. This horse is 9-5. He was 2-1 and went to 9-5. And I said, maybe there's so much money involved in doubles, pick threes, pick fours, pick fives, trifectas, everything, that maybe this horse will go off at 8-5. Maybe. I'm waiting. You saw, I made a big win bet.
Yep.
I have my finger to punch bet. I waited to the last second. The last horse was being loaded, and I turned to Noreen and I go, I'm pressing the button. He's 9-5. I said, if I get 8-5, now I know all the math says it's going to be, it's probably not going to be 9-5, but I'm saying maybe the math will be wrong here because everything's tied up with all these multi-race exotics and race exotics and everything. Last horse loaded, press enter. 9-5. All right, I got a price. They hit the far, he gets the lead. Easy, which I knew. They hit the far turn, and I look at the board, and he's 3-5. 3-5. And we won the race. We won, maybe 1,200, 1,300 on the race. We couldn't get out. I felt like a complete sucker that I knew in the back of my mind it could happen, but I created a scenario where maybe just this time we cash a win bet and we outfox the foxes. Well, even though we won and we cut our deficit to the day maybe in half, I felt like a sucker. And that's how I felt. And that's how many, many people are feeling these last few years betting against the CAWs.
Well, there are people who have either cut their handle significantly or walked from the game, or who were once serious regular players who are now occasional players, Triple Crown or whatever it is. All right, so what are you thinking might be done to solve the problem?
Well, my idea was hatched at 4 a.m. when I couldn't sleep, thinking about that stupid play I made in the race 14.
The brain is a wonderful thing, isn't it?
And my brain, as you know, never stops. And I'm thinking, and all of a sudden an idea popped up in my head. I said, I don't know how you fix this because it's a necessary evil, because if you take the money, the CAWs out, it's a house of falling cards. You have the purses being reduced because of lack of handle. You have owners leaving. You have a complete collapse of the game. The industry created this monster to hold the game up. I don't know how you fix that last second betting. Naira shuts down betting with a minute. I don't know about what you do, but I have an idea. I have an idea that I thought was pretty smart. Now, I have no faith in the industry to even listen to what I have to say or even execute a good plan. Now, whether or not this is a good plan is, left to people listening to me and thinking about it. And maybe it's stupid. I don't think it is. But even if the industry heard it, it would likely fall on deaf ears. So my idea is this. The CAWs are content if at the end of the year they bet $100 million, and with the rebate, say the rebate's 10%, an average blend, right? They break even and bet 100 million. How much do they make? Profit.
You're asking me to do the math.
No, it's easy. $10 million for breaking even with a 10% rebate. Now, if they win, and they're making more than 10%. So my idea is this, and it has to be for everybody. It has to be for the $10 bettor, the $50 bettor, the $2,000 bettor. It cannot discriminate at all by the amount of money a person bets. And what the track should do is they should reward every player with a blended rebate of whatever these CAWs are getting. So let's say my wife, who's a $10 bettor at best, makes a $10 bet on a race. Even at the track, they program this in the system. They program this in the ADWs. You bet $10, right? You lose your $10. But when you get your ticket to bet the next race or you want to cash out, you get $1. Now, let's say you won. My wife bets $10 and wins and gets back $30. She actually gets $31 because she's getting the rebate that the CAWs get. Now, obviously the CAWs get a high rebate, but the tracks are making less money because they're giving that rebate. Well, they're giving it to the handle on what the CAWs put in is huge. Give players they do give rebates to players. Like if you want a rebate, I think Naira gives a rebate, something. Yeah. ExpressBet gives a rebate. Twin Spires gives a rebate. But you have to know that. You have to go after it, right? People should never play this game, nobody, without a rebate. But what I think there should be is a standard fixed rebate for, I don't know what that rebate is, but let's say it's 8%, whatever it is. The player has to be rewarded. We are not being rewarded. The CAWs are being rewarded.
Well, Michael, we are now they've named who the non-CAWs are. The non-computer assisted wagerers are retail players, and the computer assisted wagers are wholesale players. I understand. We understand the difference between paying retail and paying wholesale, and so very simply, what you're saying is there's no distinction. We're all players, so we're all wholesale players. And if my handle for the year is 5,000, which certainly ain't 10 million or 100 million, then I'm a wholesale player on my 5,000. I get rewarded the same way that everybody that the
right
wholesale players get it. I mean, that's your simple. That's it. Everybody who's playing is treated the same.
But then it goes a step further, Tom.
Yeah.
If you have you bet 5,000 a year, and if you're getting 10%, you're making an extra $500.
Right.
So if you lost $500 for the year, with the rebate, you're even. Now, the more money you have, the more churn you're going to do. It's simple. It's simple math. More money, more churn. And this is just to level the playing field a little bit. We're never going to be able to compete with these drops in odds. But why should they benefit from that method and get the big rebate on top of it? Why? Give me a reason we shouldn't.
No, well, I'm not going to give you a reason why you shouldn't. I'm going to say that the optics of this reality is enough to for anyone who comes to the track, who witnesses it, never been to the track before, made a bet, witnesses it, and has it explained. It's a reason to never come back, in my opinion. Why would you play this game?
You go on Twitter, you see how many people said, I'm not betting Preakness Day because I'm tired of this. Money taken out of the pools.
Yeah.
The industry created this problem. And now it's the industry's responsibility to do something to fix it. And to fix it, you focus in on the bettors that support the game. That they created the CAWs, and that's holding up the game the wrong way. But now you need to go, the pendulum has to swing a little bit to our side and give us something for our wagering dollars.
Yeah.
It's really, I don't see, I know the industry they don't understand the idea of simple rebate and churn. More money to me means more money back into the pool.
You know that Steve Chris made the argument for churn many, 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 many years ago. And it's never gone anywhere. I don't know. Michael, I don't want you to continue to lose sleep, but if you come up with good ideas in your sleep, keep sleeping. You know what I mean? Anyhow, I think, we've touched on a couple of things here that all you want to do is hope that someone who understands the situation sees it as a problem, not as an inevitability without change. That's all.
When you have a problem, you find a solution. You try to find a solution.
But you got to admit, with the conversation we're having here, and and you've implied it in some of what you've said here, is that those who have the power and the authority to develop a solution are dancing around the fact that there's a problem.
Look, HISA is an organization that was put together to combat so-called drugs in the industry. Horses getting enhanced by these drugs. Now, whether you agree with what they do or not, they are trying to attack a problem that has existed. Now there's another problem, the CAWs. There needs to be some body or some organization within the industry or some outside, whatever it is, bring in somebody from the outside. I don't know what that answer is, but this is a bigger problem, not HISA and drugs. That's not as big as this problem, because if this problem isn't solved, this will be what ruins the game.
Okay. That's the statement to finish on. So I want to remind folks that the title of the show honors Bobby Duncan, legendary Naira starter, who uttered those words before he flipped the switch on the gate, because he wanted the jocks to leave the gate safely. He wanted them prepared. We're good friends with Bob. Rich Migliore said of Bob that he's the only starter Richard knew, who really wanted the jocks prepared. Everybody else wanted it a bit of a mystery. Okay, good luck and go. Anyhow, we'll be back next week, and we hope again to speak with Beckman. We have a series of guests lined up. We've got a legendary trainer that we're anxious to talk to. Been around a long, long time. We won't tease his name today, but you'll find hearing from him a warm and engaging experience. We've got claiming trainer coming up, big claiming trainer coming up. Hopefully we'll get him to talk about the inside out of the claiming game, which is under attack these days from some folks. That that the game that they knew back when purses were different and it was all about getting horses, moving horses around, cashing bets because you took a horse from so and so. I mean, that whole social and tactical game from those days. Michael, we should have you talk about those days as well. You knew all those guys. You knew Oscar and Gasper and the Clasaris boys, and that's nostalgia.
Well,
on steroids.
Well, that history has allowed me to learn what it takes to put over some horses in the claiming game like we have. Just check the pictures in your office.
It's always good to know.
Just check the wing pictures in your office and my office.
That's right. The one behind my head here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We will be back again next week, and we hope you'll be with us. Have a great week.